I think also when in future we continue to look at the issues based on a plan we have about the December conference and the workshopping and the engagements that will happen there, that should come back and guide how we approach the issues of arts, culture, and heritage. And in fact, in particular, it should, at the center, have the pillar Ubuntu.
All times. Doesn't matter whether somebody comes from Zimbabwe or from Angola or from DRC. They are us, we are them. The diversity teaches us that.
We still have that conscience. But what are our expectations of those who continue to take and take and take? At the government level, we've seen initiatives that attempts to encourage us to preserve our heritage. And we are proud of the work that they are doing. For example, today, they are bringing us together. And this also enables us to engage and to see how we can do things differently. As has already stated before, in doing things differently, we also need to take into account the will and the knowledge and the wisdom of our people.
Because when we try to find research work kwizinto ze-colonialism, from the negotiations to CODESA to MPNP, we are failing to get resources in order to pin out ukuthi kwenzeke ntoni in the failure of democracy. Because asikwazi umuva, because nina bantu badala, you are holding information. Usanda ukuthi ngoku you can't climb the stairs because ufuneka uphakanyiswe and you are retiring from politics. We've got a house full of young people who can do the research and be able to contain the heritage of South Africa. But sibanjwe nini because you are staying there ne-information eningakwazi ukuyikhupha kuthi ukwenzela uba sizothatha ilizwe forward.
Change the way that you think. And when you're thinking, ask yourself a question. Am I thinking this thing because it's what I think? Or am I thinking like this because I've been trained or brought up in a way that makes me reach these conclusions? There's no scarcity in South Africa. You've been trained to think there's scarcity so that people can continue to pillage and plunder. Now change the way that you think, and you'll be revolutionary in the way that you implement your own plans. Thank you.
And the greatest threat that is happening is a collective loss of memory. We should, I think my age and those around 50s, yeah, maybe a little bit of 40, we have a responsibility to erect stones for memorials.
Here. I'm only hoping that one last point that our panelists would cover would be a point that says, so what? What then do we need to do? What does all this mean for the young people who are here
today? And we've been asked to reflect on the place of liberation movements in contemporary politics as well as in democratic governance. And I come to these issues maybe from a slightly different place to some of our panelists today. And I don't just mean because I'm from another country. I mean because the interest that I have in liberation movements, at least originally, those in power, I mean, is particularly focused on East Africa.
Okay, yeah. So you've got this very complicated history, which defies simplicity. And by the time we get to the 1970s and 80s, we have a much more complicated scene. We have the UDF, we have the trade unions, we have the mass democratic movement, and we have an exile culture.
The biggest problem we have today is the appropriation and the repurposing and weaponizing of the message by a wrong messenger who lacks credibility and legitimacy.